So there's this tale as old as time. I'll describe it to you and you might recognize it. It goes like this. There's a problem in the community and there's no obvious or immediate or easy solution to the problem. So rather than actually solve the problem, it becomes, for want of a better word, politically expedient to find someone to blame for the problem. And finding someone to blame for the problem gives a pathway for all that animosity and excess energy to flow, and it gets expressed at the person who's blamed and they become the arbitrary victim, person or group I should say, and that solves the problem. Well, it doesn't really. It postpones the situation. It might allay the crisis at the time in a very, like I say, politically expedient way, but a way that isn't actually very helpful in terms of solving what's really going on. There's a story in Luke's Gospel that encapsulates this in a very neat kind of way. It's the story that we find in Luke, 23, in verses 33 to 43. Look at that, 23, 33 to 43. Good on you, Luke. And it's the story of Jesus on the cross, and people are turning on Jesus left, right and centre. Well, certainly on the left, because the guy that's not political left, just I was being silly, although some people would argue. Yes, there was two criminals, remember, that were crucified with Jesus, and one of them turns on him as well, and they're all blaming Jesus. Like, come on, do something, solve this problem. It's like you're the one who's supposed to be able to do everything, do this. And it's the fascinating thing about this is that towards the end of this little episode, the other criminal takes a very different position. You see that the power of blaming someone is held in the unanimity or the unanimous decision of the group that person is to blame. It can be so powerful, that unanimous decision, that the full force of everyone standing together, that even the person themselves can feel compelled to believe that they are guilty. Which it seems ridiculous at one level, because if you didn't do a thing, you know you didn't do a thing. But if everybody in the group says, no, he's guilty, the person themselves can go, oh, maybe I am. Who am I to stand against the judgment of absolutely everybody else? It's a very powerful, compelling thing, this group agreement. But all it takes is one person to go, nah, he's not. That's wrong. I've seen through the delusion, the group delusion, and there's something else going on here. And that's what you get with the other criminal who is crucified with Jesus. He rebukes the fellow on the other side of the cross. He says, what are you doing? You're here because you belong here. This man, pointing at Jesus, is innocent. And in that word, it breaks the spell of unanimous agreement with regard to the guilt of Christ. And so we get a second narrative around the crucifixion, that Jesus was actually not guilty. In fact, we kind of know that because everything in his story indicates that he's an innocent man. But such is the power of the state's judicial system and the religious agreement with that in the time of Christ, that everybody who ended up on a cross was guilty of something. So they were there because they deserved to be there. But in this case, you have Christ on the cross, and one of the eyewitnesses says, this is wrong. We know better than this. There's something bigger than the state's pronouncement of guilt or innocence. There's just innocence because it's true innocence. Now, all of that might sound fairly pedestrian. You might think, well, yeah, so. But in it is some extraordinarily profound dynamics and truths, things that we tangle with every day of our lives, in every social situation, and even within ourselves. And it is, at its heart, this notion that we'd prefer not to take responsibility, we'd prefer to blame. And we'd prefer not even to go into the depths of the issues of the problems that we're supposedly dealing with. We just want to offload it to someone else. And Jesus exposes the lie at the heart of that process. And basically says, if you're going to do it that way, you're going to murder God. And that's no way to do life. It's no way to find life. It's no way to sustain life. It's a disastrous thing to do. And yet, it is the way that we've been doing it from the beginning of time. So we're going to talk about this at Mustard Seed on Sunday. We talked a bit about the apocalypse last Sunday, and this is kind of a continuing of that theme, seeing things that are true, even though they're hard to look at. And we'll sweeten that with a bit of conversation around gingerbread house making. That'll happen on the 4th of December, and get excited about the camels coming on the 16th of December, and prepare to celebrate Christmas together with our Mustard Seed friends on the 18th of December. So there's a few things coming up. We're getting into the busy / silly season, so get busy, be silly, and come along to Mustard Seed. We're talking about some pretty important stuff as well, so we'd love you to join us and be part of those conversations. God bless. Hope to see you there.